Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wanted to know how to read someone's mind? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 super simple techniques that will actually allow you to get inside someone's head and figure out what they're really thinking, whether it's a thought of word, their phone passcode, their star sign, or even the same effect that David Blaine does here.
You're thinking of a card? Jack of clubs.
And believe me, the secret's not what you think it is. So to begin, I want to teach you one of the oldest effects in mentalism, and this effect is so good that Derren Brown, one of the best illusionists ever, did this on national television, as you can see here.
But I'll write something down behind my back. Thank you. It's a letter of the alphabet. You couldn't possibly know what it is, but just name at the moment what letter feels right to you.
A.
Any particular reason why you'd say A?
No, it just came into my mind.
Came into your mind.
Isn't that just super cool? So let me show you a quick performance of this trick myself, and then I'll teach you how it's done. The magician has a blank card and a pencil. He places them behind his back in order to write a prediction. He leaves the pencil on the table so he can't change the prediction, and then asks the spectator to name any letter that they want. They name the letter F. The magician then confirms that this was a free choice and they could have said whatever they wanted. He then gives the spectator the prediction, and it says F. So the secret behind this effect relies on a gimmick known as the nail writer or the swarmy gimmick. And what it is a very tiny pencil that sits underneath your thumbnail like this. You can then write down whatever you want using your thumb. You hand the prediction to the spectator, and when they turn it over, your prediction will be correct. So if you want to buy one of these, I've left a link down in the description. They're very cheap. You can do them in thousands of different effects, like this one, and you can predict numbers, letters, words, and it's just a great trick and a great gimmick to own. So the first thing you want to do is place the swarmy gimmick underneath your thumbnail, and then have a piece of paper or card and hold it at your fingertips to cover up the gimmick. The thicker this is, the easier the trick will be. Then what you want to do is say you're going to make a prediction behind your back. So you take the pencil and the paper, you pretend to make a prediction, but you don't actually write anything on the card. You then come out and you place the pencil to the side and you make a big deal out of that just so they know that there's no way you can change your prediction. You then ask them to name whatever letter they are thinking of. So in Derren Brown's case, they named the letter A. So when they say this, you secretly use your thumb to write down the letter A on the card, and then you place the card on the table or give it to them. You then bring your hand back and just have a little bit of a time delay. So speak to the spectator, let them know they had a free choice to choose any letter they wanted, and then when they turn it over, they'll see that you predicted the letter A. Now, the most important thing to remember when performing this trick, and any of the tricks that I'm going to be teaching you, is what you say when you're doing the trick. Because what you say makes up 80% of the effect, and that will turn it from an average trick into an incredible one. So stay tuned until the end, where I'll be telling you word for word what to say during this effect. So the best kind of magic is when you make a prediction before the trick has even begun. And this effect allows you to do just that. So imagine the spectator choosing any card that they like, and the card that they choose is the card that you predicted. The magician has a prediction and says he'll come back to it later. He then takes a deck of cards, spreads them out, and fairly shows that they're all different. The cards are then mixed up together, and then the magician cuts the cards too, so he doesn't know what's on the top or bottom of the deck. He then asks the spectator to cut the cards themselves, and he flips over the piles to show that they've cut to 2 completely random cards, proving that the deck is mixed. The spectator then completes the cut. The magician then takes back the cards and deals off the top 8, which would be different had the cards been shuffled and cut differently. These are then split into 2 piles, and the magician tells the spectator to point to one of them. They point to the pile on the right. To make things more random, the magician then switches up the cards and says point to one of the piles. They point to the pile on the right a second time. Finally, there are 2 cards left. These are mixed, and the magician says that whatever card the spectator points to will be the card that he predicted. This time the spectator points to the card on the left. Had the spectator chosen any of these other cards, it would have been completely different, but the spectator chose the 4 of spades, and the magician predicted the 4 of spades. That is the only card in the envelope, and everything else can be inspected. To begin, take a card or a piece of paper and write down the 4 of spades like this. You'll notice that if you turn it upside down, it can also be read as the 7 of hearts. And this is known as an ambigram, and I love it because it means you now have 2 predictions disguised as 1. Place this envelope face down on the table, but remember which way round your card is, so that if the spectator chooses the 4 of spades, you'll pull it out this way, and if the spectator chooses the 7 of hearts, you'll flip it over and pull it out this way. Now put the 4 of spades and 7 of hearts on the top of the deck. If you know some full shuffles, do them here, and one that I like to do is as follows. Ask your spectator to cut the cards and then flip over both piles, and justify this by saying, look, all the cards are mixed and you cut to wherever you wanted, and these 2 cards are completely random. Then complete the cut, and you'll notice that the top cards have not changed because you flipped over the piles. Now deal off the top 8 cards, and the 2 cards you want to keep track of were the first 2 cards that you dealt down. What we're going to do now is a very deceptive move. We always want to keep this 4 of spades and 7 of hearts on the table, so ask the spectator to point to a pile, but don't say what you're going to do with that pile. If they point to the front pile that does have the key cards in it, you just remove the back pile and act as if that's what you were always going to do. This is known as magician's choice. Do the same again. Ask them to point to one of the remaining piles. If they point to the cards on the left, we get rid of them, and if they point to the cards on the right, we say, okay, and we remove the cards on the left. Finally, you're going to be left with the 4 of spades and 7 of hearts. It doesn't matter which one they point to, as your prediction will work with both cards. However, I recommend that before you turn over the final cards, turn over all the other cards so you can show they're all entirely different. Then finally reveal that you predicted the card that they chose. This next effect is a trick that Dynamo has done on national television to read minds of people all around the world. I also posted it on my TikTok and it got several million views, so now I'm going to reveal the secret to this effect. But first, let me show you a performance. I'm going to read your mind. So I've got 5 cards, and all I want you to do is think of one of these 5 cards. Lock that card into your mind once you've got it. Okay, so now you've got a card in your mind, and I'm going to go through the cards and guess which one you chose. I'll remove this card here as I think it's the one that you chose, so I'll put that away, and now your card should be gone from the deck. Comment below if this fooled you. This is a genius little trick, as all the cards look normal until I remove the jack and you see that all the cards have different suits on them. This means one way they look like one set of cards, but if you display them the other way round, they're a completely different set of cards. The only normal card is the jack on the front. So to begin, you show all the cards and ask the spectator to remember just one of them. It doesn't matter what they remember because all the cards are going to change. You then turn the cards around and mix them up, and then remove the jack face down, saying their card is gone. Now flip the cards the other way round and show that their card is gone. This is a simple yet powerful trick that you can learn in seconds, and I've left a link down in the description to where you can buy these cards. So for this next effect, I'm going to be revealing a technique that very few people know, and it will allow you to know what object or word someone is thinking of. So let me show you the performance. The magician asks the spectator to think of any memory and then an object associated with that memory, but nothing obvious like a house or a car. This could also be a star sign, a phone passcode, but in this case the spectator thinks of any object that they like. The magician then shows that all the cards are blank and then asks the spectator to draw their object secretly. The spectator thinks of a watch, so draws a watch. The magician then spreads through all the cards and puts the spectator's drawing about halfway down in the deck. This is done very fairly. He then leaves their cards sticking out of the middle of the deck, and then cleanly taps it into the cards. The magician then tells the spectator to look at him as he's going to read their mind. He asks the spectator to visualize their object in front of them and say it over and over again in their head. The magician then pauses, picks up a blank card and makes a prediction. He asks them what they're thinking of, and they say a watch, which perfectly matches the magician's prediction. This trick uses a deck of blank playing cards. I've left a link in the description to where you can get them. Ask the spectator to think of any object and then ask them to draw it. In this case, the spectator has drawn a watch. Now you need to get a peek at this card. There are two ways to do this, the beginner way and the advanced way, which is what I did in the performance. I'll teach you both right now.
So the easy way is you take their card and it looks like this. You push their card back into the middle of the deck and then you just cut it into the deck just like that, completely fair, and you now know that they've drawn a watch. The way this works is as you push their card into the deck, you pull up on the back of their card, which means that you're going to get a break under their card. Then you just simply lift up from that break and put it cut down. That means their card is now on the bottom. Then very quickly, all you do is you rotate the deck in your hand, and in doing so, you get a peek at the bottom card, just like that. But it's a very natural thing. So you finish the break, you start talking to the spectator, just rotate the deck, and you've got a peek on the bottom card, which is their card. The harder way to do it is as follows. You spread through the cards, and then you leave one card sticking out and place the spectator's drawing just underneath it. You then show them the drawing, and all that's happening is this thumb is contacting the back of the second card, and these fingers are contacting the front card. This holds the card here, and all you're going to be doing is pulling the second card to the side. And you do this as you go down. And see, their card is now here. So let me show you that one more time. You take the card, you show that that's their card there. As you go down, you pull that card to the side. So now their card is under the deck, and then you square everything up, leaving one card slightly sticking out, but their card is now on the bottom. Then what you do is you take off the bottom packet and tap in the card that's sticking out. As you do that, you peek at their drawing. There's the rest of the cards on top, and through that, you're able to guess what card that they have. Everything in this trick comes down to presentation. So stay until the end where I teach you how to actually turn this into a mind-blowing miracle.
Now, if you're struggling with the basic handling of cards, such as holding them, spreading them, cutting them, and all that kind of stuff, check out my course, Card Magic Pro. It's the most popular card course in the world with over 10,000 members. It just teaches tricks and sleights that are far too good to reveal on YouTube. So I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can check it out. So for this final effect, we're going to be learning how David Blaine reads minds. Look at him here as he simply tells someone to think of a card, looks in their eyes, and just like that, he can tell them what card they've chosen.
You're thinking of a card? Jack of clubs.
Here's a video of me performing a very similar effect.
It's an ace of clubs, hearts, spades. It's an ace of hearts. Get the actually, I'm done.
Now, the secret here is not what you think it is, because there's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes. So let me show you a full performance of everything, and then I'll teach you how to do it.
The magician has a deck of cards. He shuffles up all the cards. He can even let the spectator shuffle them. And then he shows that every single card really is in a random order. He then tells the spectator to just say stop whenever they want. They say stop here, not this card, but this card here. And the spectator takes a look at that card. The magician then says, put that card back wherever you want. In fact, we don't even need the deck of cards for this. So we get rid of the deck of cards. And he says, look at me. Just think about your card and think about the suit, think about the color, think about it's definitely a high card. Yeah, I can see it's not a low card yet, and that smile confirms it. So it's between really visualize it. Yeah, there's a lot of ink. I think it's maybe a picture card. It's a king, the king of spades, and spectator reacts, and it is the king of spades.
So the secret behind this effect is very simple. All you're going to do is force the spectator to choose a certain card and then pretend to read their mind. And that's actually what David Blaine and most magicians do. They just don't show you the forcing part on camera. So they'll force the card off camera, and then the bit you see on camera is just them doing the mind reading part, and it looks like the spectator has just thought of a card, and then the magician reads their mind and reveals what it is. So the way in which I like to do this effect is you begin by giving the cards a shuffle, you let the spectator shuffle them up, And then you just turn over all the cards just to show that they're all genuinely mixed up and different. And as you do this, you peek at the top card, which in this case is the 2 of diamonds. You then just need to use any force that you like on the spectator to make them pick the 2 of diamonds. So one of the easiest forces out there is called the crisscross force. So what you do is you tell the spectator to cut half the cards. You cut half the cards like that, and then you mark where they've cut. And then you distract the spectator a few seconds, you talk, you say, look, you shuffle the cards, you then cut the cards wherever you wanted, and the card you cut to was the 2 of diamonds. And then from there, you basically just pretend to read their mind. So how does that force work? Well, it's really simple. As I said earlier, know what the top card is. So again, this is the 2 of diamonds. Then what you're going to do is ask the spectator to cut the cards, but not complete the cut. So they cut half the cards like this, and then you say you're going to mark where they're going to cut, where they've cut the cards. So you pick up the other half and you put them laterally on top of the deck. Then what you need is a time delay. So you need to just confirm to the spectator that they could have chosen any card, they had a free selection. And as you're doing this, the spectator forgets which pile they really cut to, because the pile they really cut to is this one here, and it's the 8 of clubs. But when you have this little time delay, it really looks as if the spectator actually cut to this card here, which is your forced card. So you just speak to them and you say, hey, look, have a look at the card that you cut to, but don't show me. They look at the card, which is the one you forced. And then from there, you just pretend to read their mind. And that's the most important part of this magic trick. And we'll go more into the presentation side of it at the end of this video. So ladies and gentlemen, you've now made it to the most important part of the video. You see, if you just go out there and perform these mind reading effects without doing what I'm about to tell you, they're just gonna fall flat and get mediocre reactions at best. You see, if you want to get crazy reactions like David Blaine, Darren Brown, and Dynamo, then you need to realize that what you say when doing these magic tricks is much more important than what you do. And this is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned in magic. That presentation is what separates an average trick from an astonishing one. So you're probably asking, all right, Oscar, what do you say when doing these tricks? Well, what I recommend you do is you learn a script for each of these tricks so you know what you're going to say and when you're going to say it. So what I've done is I've left a link down in the description to my own scripts that I use when performing these tricks, and you can access them all completely free, no strings attached. So just check out the link in the description and use them in tandem with these effects. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.